Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. We have a huge week ahead. Coming up this weekend, of course, we've got the spring football game and all the stuff that goes on with what the ThunderCast does around that weekend. We've got a big baseball home series. We've got a big softball home series. It's just a great weekend to be a Herd fan. You're going to be able to get out, stretch your legs a little bit, see the sights and sounds and smells of Jones C. Edwards Stadium, get your first look at this new look Marshall Thundering Herd, and catch some baseball and softball this weekend, all while getting your belly full on some really, really good food and hanging out with us, talking about the Herd. Russ, we've got a lot to cover, as always, as per the norm on this show, so let's get right into it with a quick word from our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
Without further ado, let's get into this very, very exciting and informative episode with at least 5 things that every Herd fan needs to know.
Here are 6 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by IgniteLink, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Number 1, Juli Fulks is the new women's basketball coach.
You know what? I had forgotten that we hadn't talked about this yet. And that's how busy it's been. And this was a huge thing. We told you on the last show, we told everybody we expected this process to move quickly. And I'm not sure how many people had Juli Fulks on their radar, right? Because I hadn't really seen that floating around by anyone, but man, when you dig into the resume, it's pretty freaking impressive. Comes from Transylvania University, and what an impressive overall win-loss record. Something like 93-7 over that last 100 games. Couple of titles, a bunch of conference titles, a 64-game win streak at one point. I mean, dang. Yeah, and of course, what's the first thing people are going to say, Russ? Oh, well, you did it at a lower level. Well, guess what Kim Caldwell did before she came to Marshall? She did it all at a lower level. And she came here and then won 2 championships in a magical season. So don't give me that. Don't throw that crap at me. Let's look at the style of coaching. Let's look at the overall record. Let's look at the things that you can actually measure. And when you do that, it's kind of hard not to get excited, but welcome to the Herd, Juli Fulks.
Yeah, it's a 91-2 record over the last 3 seasons. Went undefeated and 33-0 to win the 22-23 Division III National Championship. You mentioned that 64-game winning streak. Also lost 1 game last year and was in the Final Four. So that tells you that's the game that they lost.
Yeah.
Been undefeated the last 2 regular seasons, and 2024 D3 Coach of the Year. So you see a lot of parallels to the type of hire this is. I'm not saying it's going to be a parallel to the same system. As I understand it, it is not. But D3, just to recap for everybody, does not have scholarships. D2 does. D2 to D1, everyone was saying, well, she's a good coach. Let's see how this leap goes, the transition goes. We questioned it, not in a negative manner, just saying, guys, I don't think that we're going to expect year 1 to be off the charts. D3 to D1 is thought to be a totally different animal because all of a sudden, you've got the recruiting, you got the different competition, you've got just everything involved. But here's what I'll say. Coaches coach. And when you have this type of success, I don't think that you're going to be a situation where you're just like, oh, well, I forgot how to coach. It's D1 and there's scholarships involved. So everything I know goes out the window. Coaches coach. We learned a very valuable lesson about that with Kim Caldwell last year. Even though we were 100% behind that hire, we were excited about that hire. She just exceeded all of our expectations. So I will say this. I'm back on the year one. Don't expect to come in and duplicate what Kim Caldwell did last year. But I would not be surprised with her resume, Juli Fulks, that she comes in and exceeds our expectations again.
Yeah. Now, you're right. Coaches do coach. But coaches also now spend a lot of their time, probably more of their time, recruiting than in years past with the landscape of collegiate athletics, right? And to have not had to do that as a head coach, well, that's a different animal. So you're right. You're going to have to get into recruiting with scholarships. And of course, you're going to recruit to your school anyway. It's just that now there are scholarships involved. And you would think that it would be a little easier now because you have scholarships to offer as opposed to not having them to offer. But still, it's a part of the game. It's a facet of the program that you're now in charge of. I don't find it to be this night and day thing. The only night and day part of it is one level has scholarships, one level doesn't, but you're still recruiting. It's not like there's players just lined up outside your door and you just, got them always coming to you. You still have to go out and find those players and get them into your program. And let me do one thing. I know we shouldn't have to do this, but still we have to do this because there are still some fans out there that don't understand the divisions. Like some fans still think that FCS football is Division II football, and that's not what it is. Okay, so you're right. You have Division I, Division II, and Division III. There are roughly 330-ish Division I schools out there. Not all of them play basketball, but most of them do. I think every year, at least in men's basketball, you have about 330 some teams that you're competing against for ultimate tournament slots and stuff. In football is the only sport that has the Division I divider. Every other sport, if you're Division I, you're Division I. But we all know in football you can be FCS or FBS, right? That doesn't exist in any of the other sports. So just to get everybody on the same page with that, which you would think everybody knows that. But basketball and all the other sports, if you're D1, you're D1. That being said, I'm extremely intrigued by the hire of Juli Fulks. I am not sitting up here and thinking that the magic of last season will be replicated because there is going to be a lot of roster rebuilding to do, not just from the departures in the portal, but the exhaustion of eligibility players. I mean, Kim did a great job, but she had the luxury of having the player of the year, who would be the player of the year, and Abby Beeman returning for this season, and several other huge weapons. And she brought some big weapons along with her from Glenville. I'm not so sure that there will be a straighter line from Transylvania to Huntington, right? I don't know how well that will translate, but we do know that lower level players you can't just cast off, or lower division players you can't just cast off. Abby Beeman was a D2 player. She came in, she was player of the year in the Sun Belt, right? So you can't just do that. There's a lot of talented basketball players out there. Coaches will find them. Coaches will find the players that will thrive in their systems. And Coach Fulks has a extremely long track record of winning. 400 wins, right? That you don't do that by accident. So I don't think the magic will necessarily be replicated. I'm not going to sit here, right now, and say we're going to repeat as conference champions. We're going to repeat as conference tournament champions, and we're going back to the NCAA tournament. I can't do that. It's just too many unknowns right now, right? Far too many unknowns. I feel more accurate in saying what we said last year applies to this year. We're probably going to have to wait and see what this first year looks like. Give her a couple of recruiting cycles and portal cycles to see what kind of moves we can make before we start to get a better idea of what this women's basketball team can be. But I'll tell you, they could have done a lot worse than hiring Juli Fulks. I'm kind of here for it, and I'm excited to see how the momentum behind this program continues.
Final piece for me before we move on from this is that Jenna Burdett was one of the coaches that everyone was talking about on social media, even on here, message boards and everything. She was the assistant. She did a lot of the clipboard stuff in the huddle. Everyone was talking about, already knew the system, seems like a natural progression. She was following Kim Caldwell to Tennessee. We had said, not really sure if that's going to take her out of this running or not. Ultimately, I don't know how that went down, but we went in a totally different direction and are with Juli Fulks. I don't know that Jenna Burdett was top 5 target, whatever. We don't know how any of that goes. We had just discussed it on the show. So just for closing that loop, once she went there, Juli Fulks was named, I want to say within about 24, 40 hours, something like that. It wasn't long afterwards. So that's just the final thing that I wanted to mention. Moving on to number 2, we got some scheduling news for football. We signed a deal with Wisconsin, and that will be the opening game September the 2nd in the 2028 season.
The 20-year gap between trips to Madison. I tweeted this and kind of tongue in cheek when it came out that, they dropped the announcement for the game. And I was like, if the game in 2008 just would have ended after the first quarter, we had them. Because we jumped out on, for those folks that don't remember, it was 14-0, and then it was all Badgers after that. But I like this game. I get the big road game, the big money game. I, like several other fans, I'm not trying to crap on this game, because Wisconsin's a quality opponent. It's another Big Ten team. It's going to be a good payday, and you just kind of have to have those games. I think where I am with a lot of other fans is like, man, this is great. This will be a destination. Like, if you want to go see Jump Around in the fourth quarter, you can't do it anywhere other than at Wisconsin. It's just so dang far away, and we've got Ohio State on the schedule this year. We've got Penn State coming up in a short amount of time. Those are far more easily travelable games, and I get it, but Madison, Wisconsin is not as easy for fans when they're, there might have been other opportunities out there, but I don't care. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. The small ticket allotment that Marshall will get will probably be sold out, and there will be enough of the fans to make the trip to fill their allotment of tickets. So for the fans, that's why I'm not mad, because I'm not going to sit here and go, well, I won't even get to go to that game, when I probably wouldn't get to go to it anyway, like with life dealings. So probably a lot of the folks that are griping about that, probably wouldn't go to the game anyway. I just think it's a good opportunity to get a marquee victory on the road in a very hostile environment. And I'm just not mad at the game. I like it.
I was not in the position to be able to go in 2028. So, 2008, and I'm looking forward to trying to go in 2028. Who knows what's going to happen 4 years from now and where I'm going to be at with that weekend,
Sure.
with everything that might go on. But as of right now, it's on my radar. And I already looked at driving versus flying, too early to book plane tickets for that, I'd say. But I enjoy a good road trip, and discussed it with the wife, and that's something that we're kind of looking forward to go up through there. On the way up, you hit the Chicago area. No matter which way you want to go, that's the best route. You end up through a portion of Chicago, no matter what. So something that I'm looking forward to. I'm glad this is now our third, as you mentioned, coming up Big Ten opponent that we are getting ready to have in 24, 26, and 28. Every other year, we've got a Big Ten opponent. The way realignment has been going, the Big Ten and the SEC are the two juggernauts out there. So getting some of these, you pull off one of those wins, one out of those 3 Big Ten opponents, 2 out of 3. I think it would be a betting long shot to say we win all 3 of those on the road, but crazy things happen. And can you imagine what 1 win, 2 wins, the unbelievable 3 wins would do for a program like this to beat one of those,
Dude,
2 of those, or 3 of those Big Ten teams.
forget Wisconsin. They beat Ohio State this year,
Yeah,
and people are going to be like Notre Dame, then
right.
Virginia Tech, and
Yeah.
now Ohio State. What the hell is going on in
Yeah.
Huntington, West Virginia?
But even if you don't, what I'm saying is one of those 3, you win.
Yeah,
We went to the Horseshoe, drastically different situation, but we went up there and almost won in 2004, and I was at that game, and we put it to them and should have won that game.
yeah,
So things happen, no matter how unlikely they are. One win against these 3 Big Ten teams would just be a huge feat. And Wisconsin is a perennial over in their division. They are perennial the team to beat coming out of that division year after
right.
year. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
All right, number 3, we have Dan D'Antoni has been named an ambassador to Marshall and will work hand in hand with Brad Smith to try to get more and more enrollment, students coming here, and just be an ambassador overall to the university.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool, man. I'm
Very cool.
glad. I'm glad that they continued to make Dan D'Antoni a part of this university. I think he's just so damn cool, man. Like, I don't know how a dude his age continually relates to kids of the 18, 22-year-old age range, but damn if he doesn't do it. He's just so freaking cool. And, in the opportunity, if you get the opportunity to talk to him, not you, but just people, there's just a vibe with Dan D'Antoni that is so, I don't know, man. It's just different. He just makes you feel right at home, and it's kind of that's exactly what you want when you're showcasing Marshall University. You want a prospective student to feel like they are right at home. So if he's
Mhm.
going to be doing a little traveling to, local high schools or high schools in the region and just speaking on what Marshall brings to the table and how it's a benefit to any young mind, and you could do again, we could do far worse of who we're sending out there to stick in front of a microphone, because Dan recruited for a living for a long, long, long time. And I'm on a personal level, I'm glad that he's just affiliated with, he just seems like the type of guy that should be affiliated with Marshall until he's just taking his last breath, because he's just been so Marshall for so long. I like this too. I do. Um, it just seems like a well, that makes sense kind of thing, doesn't it? It just seems like,
Yeah.
well, that makes damn good sense, and excellent move, of course. Like, I got to tell Brad Smith that he makes excellent moves, but another in a long list of excellent moves by Brad Smith.
The Southern West Virginia connection, me being from Southern West Virginia and Mingo County, that family is just legendary down there.
Sure.
We are not like right next door to Mullins, but um, there is enough spread out through the entire counties down there in that southern portion of West Virginia that people went to school with the D'Antonis here at Marshall, or they played against them in high school, and then they're telling their sons and their nephews and all that about growing up and playing basketball, and it's just a legendary family. So to go back down there in that area and be a recruiting tool, it's a no-brainer. I think, like you said, he can go elsewhere too, but just in that southern area, I mean, that's an untapped market down there to bring more people up here um, to school. And enrollment is up. Anything that we can do to get more enrollment up, it's just going to bring a lot more to this university, which will bring a lot more to the athletics and all of us alums and create more alums. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. Glad to see that. For that reason, but also Dan, he wanted to come back,
Yeah.
and
You wanted to come back.
it was not the decision of his to leave. So they said, we're moving on to Corny, which was the succession plan. But then they reached back out and said, hey, how about this?
Yeah,
It's just keeping that family involved. He's a legend here. I think it's great.
I do too. And now he gets to coach a much larger team, a team of prospective students. You get to try to make an impact here. And in the thing we really haven't even talked about yet, and you mentioned going back into Southern West Virginia, and that's a guy that I from there. So you go like, look, man, look what Marshall did for me. Now, of
Sure.
course, not everybody's going to be a star basketball player and a great basketball coach and all that kind of stuff, but he's living, breathing, walking proof that you can
Yeah.
come from where I came from and do
Right.
great things through Marshall University. It's just a great thing. It's great. It's a great thing.
Number 4, this is our only negative in this week, but Cam Pedro has entered the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Wide receiver for the Herd, was not on the spring roster. I was curious about that. Didn't bring it up. Didn't ask any questions on that. But he was noticeably not on there. And now today being the first day that the portal opens, he has entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, and that sucks. I will say that because that Cam is one of those. Let's get the band back together. Second gen players, right? With Cole's in town and Jaden Yates is in town and Cam Pedro, and it was like a very 90s vibe again for the Herd, and guys of our age were like, your dad was a beast, so we're excited to have these second gen players back in Kelly Green. And I would be lying to you if I said that I'm all right with this one, because it kind of stings, man. I just you want to keep family together, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to see Cam like make a go of it here, and I thought maybe this was the opportunity that he would see the field for this year. And all pure speculation. We've been talking about air raid for months now. And maybe Cam feels like his game is not built as well for the air raid as other offenses. We don't know, right? I don't know, but I would like to think that it has to be something, pretty important, like a major factor in his career to leave the Herd, because he's amongst, in my opinion, Herd royalty, right? The name Pedro is amongst Herd royalty to me. And of course, Kennedy's here running track and field. And so, it must be something. And I hate to see him go, but I will say this: wherever he goes and gets an opportunity, he will shine for somebody.
Yeah.
So we will cheer from afar. And even if a team he goes to happens to be on the schedule for the Herd, we will root hardcore for the Herd, but also root for Cam Pedro. Like I said before, like he can go for 15 catches, 200 yards, and a couple of touchdowns as long as they lose the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I got no problem doing that. But along with what you said, the portal window has now opened. So you cannot hang on every single portal entry, because you're going to see more entries in the beginning than guys coming out of the portal. So it's a very front-loaded thing. It looks like, oh my God, they're going to close the doors of the shoey. We're never going to win a game here at the beginning of the portal window. And then by the end of the window and throughout the summer and spring, we're going to see weapons continue to be added. We've done that since Coach Huff is here. We did it in the holiday era too. That's just how it goes. So you have to let it play out. I've already been on social media today with the opening of the portal window, talking with some fans in response to this, and they're like, "Oh gosh, we got to bring in some wide receivers to accent this air raid." And I'm like, "See, you've already forgotten we had 6 from the fall portal window that we brought in. Like we're doing that. It's not like we're not doing anything. We're already doing that."
Yeah, different types of wide receivers too, as we covered. And where can you find out all about that? Over on ThunderCast.online. I've got that portal tracker on there. I'm updating it. I will put Cam begrudgingly. I don't want to put him on there. I after hearing the news today, I keep hoping that he will decide to come back, but
which he may.
But that's selfish on my part. And
Of course.
here's what I'm going to say is, one, I love that family, because I always heard the name Pedro as I was growing up, from my uh, watching on TV, that sort of thing. And all, uncles, everybody that was fans of the herd, and I watched the games with them and everything. But kind of got to interview him a couple of years ago, and now his son is here, his daughter's here. I was rooting for Cam Pedro.
Who wasn't?
Yeah. And Glenn has come by, the tailgates a couple of times and everything. And as I always remark, he looks like he's still good for at least one drive during a game, but maybe a full game. He's still put together, man. But I was rooting for him. But this two things, it's very easy for me to be selfish and say, well, I want him to be here and this and that. Ultimately, I want what he wants. I want this player, Cam Pedro, to get out of his college experience what he wants. And if that means going to another school so he can have playing time, or going to another school for a different degree, or going to a different school to be closer to something, whatever it is. And I'm not just talking about him. That's the kind of decisions that all of these players have to do in all sports when they're hitting the transfer portal. Sometimes it's very, very personal for them, the reason they have to go, and it might be the most agonizing decision that they've had to do up to that point in their lives, even more so than when they originally chose to come to this school. So just know that these are anywhere from 18 to 22, 23-year-old kids making these decisions, and they are tough sometimes. And it might be something that is agonizing them because their dream might have been to play at this certain school. And then they have to make the decision that now it's better for me to go somewhere else. So we need to root for these kids. And that's why I always say, once a son or daughter of Marshall, always a son or daughter of Marshall. And, you nailed it. We'll be rooting him on wherever he's at.
Yeah. And I think for him in particular, that drives home even harder, right? Like, it's always a son of Marshall because of, Glenn has been such a good friend to our show, and he's always just great to be around.
Oh yeah.
And I know he was like super happy when Cam committed here, and it can't be easy. It can't be easy, because we both have boys, and you want the best for them, right? But also you can't help but hope they want some of the same things that you want and like some of the same things that you like. It's just like, that's what you want, right? And while it does not, it would not shock me for Glenn to be like, I support you wherever you want to go, Cam. This is
absolutely.
your life, and you've got to make your decisions, and I'm behind you 100%.
Yeah.
As a dad, I know it would sting a little bit to be like, man, damn it,
Yeah.
But now you just got to pull some double duty. He might be wearing a different colored T-shirt in the stands on some Saturdays coming up, and that's just what you got to do. But
that's right.
It doesn't. It's just a thing, man. And it's really easy for me and fans to sit here and go, I want you to do this. It's like, I don't get to dictate. Like, I wouldn't let somebody else dictate what I do with my life. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Besides work, because they own us.
Yeah, but I also have the freedom to leave that job and go to another job. Right?
Sure.
I have that.
Same situation here.
Same situation. So I hate to see him go. I wish him all the best. But the last thing I'll say about the portal window, just pump the brakes, everybody. You're going to see however many we see. I won't say a lot because I don't know if it'll be a lot. But however many you see going in will outpace how many are coming out to the herd early in this portal window. So just let the whole thing run its course. So far, we've done pretty well. We've gotten a lot of impact players over Huff's tenure. We got some impact players over Holiday's tenure. We've lost some too. We have. But ultimately, we've been able to win some games, and we keep going to bowl games. And, we just got to win more of those. If it comes down to, if you win 2 or 3 more games a season, most fans are going to feel a hell of a lot better about what we're doing. 6-6 team, or it looks a lot better when you're an 8-4 team. Or if you're an 8-win team, it looks a hell of a lot better if you're a 10-win team. So let's just see how it plays out. Where there's going to be a lot of new, a lot of newness, specifically on this offense. No more Rasheen Ali, new quarterbacks in the mix, whole new offense getting installed. I mean, it's a lot of new. So I think the portal for Marshall will ultimately be pretty attractive because there are going to be some dynamic wide receivers and tight ends and backs that want to be involved in a exciting air raid style of offense. So let's see how it plays out.
Moving on to number 5, these last two are both some things coming up very, very soon. And volleyball banquet is this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. at Christopher's Eats. We talked about this before. Mm-hmm. We've got the spring game. It's going to be over right around that time. So anyone not going over to the Jack to watch baseball, head on over to Christopher's Eats, support the volleyball team. $50 gets you in for a very nice dinner. There's also going to be a cash bar there. And if you can't go, there's opportunities to sponsor student athletes to go and other things. But all of this helps the volleyball program.
Yeah. It's a good opportunity to give back, So if you're a local business owner and you're, looking to, you can probably make some donations there. Like you said, sponsor some student athletes. Help yourself out while helping out the herd a little bit. If you can go, it might make for a busy Saturday, especially if you're getting up early and coming and tailgating with us and then going into the game and then, home for a quick shower and getting cleaned up and looking good and shooting over to Christopher's Eats. It can be done. But there will be a contingency of fans that are only going to the volleyball banquet, and great. I hope it's a sellout. I hope it's packed to the gills for Coach Ari and her program. We still have yet to see some of those recruiting announcements. We know the herd is grown. Mm-hmm. That's what they kind of say all the time. The herd just got bigger, or the herd is growing. But they really keep things tight to the chest, tight to the vest, and so maybe this is where they'll be debuting some of that information. So if you're a volleyball fan and you really, really want to stay in the know, perhaps the volleyball banquet is a great opportunity for you to get that insider info.
And another one for number 6 here, the tennis banquet is Monday at 6:30 p.m. It is at Rocco's Ristorante in Cerrito.
Man, I haven't been to Rocco's in a long time. Man.
Prices on that, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have it up here, but I believe it's $150 per person, and then they have a table of 6 for $1,000 or a table of 8 for $1,250. So get on there, and it's all this is on Herd Zone if you want to. Get some tickets for this. Support our tennis team, same way we're talking about supporting the volleyball team. It's the same way I was able to go to the softball banquet this year. All of these things are very, very important. They help raise more funds for these programs, allow them to do more things. So we talk about you want to play at a championship level, you have to have championship support. This is one of those things, these two banquets. If you can make it, please go out.
Yeah, and what I'd like to say is this is one of these opportunities with these Olympic sports. Like the dollar goes so much farther.
Yeah.
Right. Because they really know how to maximize their revenue in these Olympic sports. And let's face it, man, herd tennis wins. I mean, they win a lot. So it's an opportunity to really support one of the stronger programs at Marshall University that just flies under the radar for so many people. We talk about it weekly because they're so damn good and we have so many good tennis players, and the best way to keep that momentum going is to support events like this so that you can put some money into the accounts of those programs so that they can continue to recruit at a high level and perform at a high level. I mean, we love football, men's basketball, and all that stuff. We love all of our programs. But we know as fans, like some of those programs are funded far more than others.
Right.
Because in fairness, they also generate more revenue than others. So if you really want to make an impact on a program, on an Olympic program, you can do it with going to these banquets and things like that, because the money, the donations will go quite a bit farther, But I don't know. I wish I was more local so that I would have an opportunity to do these things. I'm sure they're a great time. So if you can go, look into it. It's I mean, plus you get Rocco's. It's a pretty good dinner.
Hey, right now, before I get rid of the 5 things here and sign us off, I have to put this out. Our friend Luke Creasy just put this on Twitter,
Uh-oh.
and this is the press conference is going on right now for Juli Fulks over at the Cam, and he says that Marshall Athletic Director Christian Spears said that Coach Juli Fulks called Tennessee's Kim Caldwell and talked over things before accepting the job. Caldwell then got back in touch with Spears and said, "I love her. Make that happen. You have my full support."
Wow.
So I just want to add that, since that was our number one thing. I think that is just the point right at the end, the period that just puts all that that more in support of Coach Fulks.
That's a pretty glowing review.
Yeah.
And I want to circle back to this just for a minute. And I don't have the direct quote, right? But Kim was also introduced at the University of Tennessee, and she talked about Marshall and that she had no plans really to leave Marshall for a long time. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of what she kind of said. Like, so remember when we said on the show, like, this job, there were not rumors about this job. It just kind of looked like out of nowhere, Tennessee wanted Coach Kim. Well, I think that point speaks to that. She said, I had no plans to leave Marshall for a long time. And the opportunity came along, right? So to have that happen and then to turn around and have Coach Kim give a pretty strong review, a pretty strong thumbs up to this move. I mean, you got to love it because Kim wants to see this program continue to rise. She built something in just a year, but part of also building that is when you make your next move, you want to see if it continues to trend upward. And if Kim's in support of Coach Fulks, I think Marshall fans should too, at least with cautious optimism, right? Because she wants to see the program continue to do well, just like we do. And she's forgotten. We say this about coaches all the time. Coach Kim has forgotten more about basketball than I'll ever know. So if there's support there and she thinks, hey man, she can do it here, then good. I do too.
Well, that gives us an end to our 6 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link.
The guys at Ignite Link. What a great group of dudes. And I got to tell you this, man, it's going to be cool to get back into Huntington and be able to see those guys, or at least some of those guys. I don't know how many of them will be around, but it's always cool when I get to see Jed again. He's like a soul cleanser, man. He's just like a really good dude. And whenever you see Jed Horton, it's it always makes for a more rewarding trip. The last time I was in West Virginia, there wasn't a lot of positivity surrounding that trip. Some personal stuff that I had going on, and so this time it'll be nice to get back and have this trip centered around some fun things and having a good time and being around the herd. So I guess that leaves what we get to talk about for those that have been living under a freaking rock for the past couple of months. We've been talking about spring football game weekend for a long time, and now it's upon us. At the end of the week, it's going to be spring football game on Saturday. We're going to have a home baseball series all weekend long, home softball series all weekend long, and just like we did last year, we're going to put on a big old tailgate for a green and white game, or the spring game as they call it. Completely free. The whole thing is going to be made possible by Landscaping by Hillcrest. Find them at landscapingbyhillcrest.com. But Russ, let's talk about the weekend. Let's talk about what fans can expect to see. Let's talk about what's going on and how you can really make this a herd-centric weekend if you are looking for something to do.
The lots open at 10 a.m. We will be over there obviously before then. Our guys are going to be smoking the food all night long. They're going to get there on Friday and do all that. So when you get there at 10 a.m., like we said, it's free. And we're going to have our usual stuff coming off the smokers. There's going to be whole chickens that will be shredded up. There's going to be all kinds of pork butts for pulled pork. There's going to be those pork belly burn ends that they have become famous for. Everyone loves to get those. We're going to have some sides. I'm going to be hopefully making the macaroni and cheese and the baked beans, and we'll just have a little bit of everything there for people. I will tell you to bring your own beer if you plan on bringing that. It's just not something that we're going to be able to anticipate how many people will be there and what they may or may not want to drink. We'll try to have some waters there for you, but if you're wanting some beer or whatever, bring your own.
Well, honestly, I don't want to risk hands that shouldn't be going into the coolers going into the coolers.
That's part of it. So all the food, we got you. So we'll have that there. We're going to be set up to do ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link, which is something that we do at every tailgate. As long as everything works out the way that we want. There's been very few games since we started that we've had to not be able to have one due to some kind of technical issue or something. But we will be ready to go with a live tailgate show there on Saturday. Then we're going to turn around and do the same thing over at the softball field for ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link, over there the next day. We are going to have a representative of the Big Green, even if that turns out to be me. We are going to have people there that can sign you up for the Big Green. Their annual membership drive is underway. I have been working pretty hard on that, and proud to say that I'm number one right now amongst that friendly competition that we have going on the Big Green board. No big deal. But people that sign up for the Big Green at our tailgate are going to get those grill mitts that are custom with Marshall logos on there. And they are also going to be entered into that drawing for the tabletop 17-inch Blackstone griddle. So people that like to go camping, tailgating, just in your backyard, wherever, this is a very portable deal that's being paid for by the Big Green as just something that they liked what we had going on. They wanted to do something that tied it into our tailgating kind of deal that we're doing. And they said, hey, why don't you give this away? We'll put this over there, and anyone that signs up for the Big Green can be entered.
So come ready to join the Big Green. We all know that we need to have a larger presence amongst donors and boosters, right? And some folks, maybe you're not interested in it. I don't understand why, because it's so affordable, right? To join the Big Green. And we've talked so many times about the Herd Perks card. You can make your money back with the Herd Perks card just by doing your normal shopping in Huntington and your normal eating out at restaurants, just normal stuff, buying gear, all that stuff. So for as little as $5 a month, you should do it, because it's actually a money maker for you if you shop in and around Huntington anyway. So come ready, right? And get tossed into a drawing for a Blackstone tabletop griddle. Those are really cool, man.
Yeah.
I saw, one of the guys I work with had one of those. They were doing a little cookout deal at work, and that thing was handy as hell.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that it was handy as hell. So those ain't cheap. So it's a nice little perk, a nice little prize potentially for saying, yeah, man, I want to be a donor. I want to be part of the Big Green, because we know these fund scholarships for our athletes, and we ain't done until we have funded a scholarship for every single athlete at Marshall University, right? Because that frees up other money to do other things that we want to do. You like seeing flashy new uniforms. You like seeing nice upgrades to our facilities. You can see more of those in a shorter amount of time, the more scholarships that we're able to fulfill for our athletes, right? So it takes everybody, and if we're a herd and if we're a herd family, we should all be doing our part. And I say that as a from my chair, knowing full well I've never had a problem telling you this. I am not a $1,000 a year donor. I'm a regular dude that has a regular, you know, modest donation total. So I'm not sitting up here telling people to empty their bank accounts to support the herd. I'm telling you to find the amount that you can find and do that. And if it's $60 on the year, awesome, because that's what it is. And you might not think, well, that ain't going to help nobody. Well, if only one person were doing it, you're probably right. But if we can get 1,000 people to donate $5 a month, then that's $60,000 on the year. And that absolutely does help. So don't be the 1,000th person to sign up. Be the first person. Be the one that triggers other people to want to go, you know what? I'm going to do it too. Been long enough. I listen to the ThunderCast. Those guys talk about Big Green all the time, talk about all the stuff, all the positivity that comes out of the athletic department, tennis team kicking ass, track and field team kicking ass. You know, I know we'll talk about this in Around the Herd, but Tyler Jones is leading after the first round of the golf tournament this week. I mean, come on. There's a lot of stuff going on. Not a lot of new going on. Facilities, the Jack just opened up, all these sweet video boards going around all of our facilities, and 2 new basketball coaches. I mean, there's a lot. So it's always a great time to be a bigger part of the herd. But you don't have to break the bank to do it. And we're going to make it really easy at this free tailgate this weekend to pull the trigger on the Big Green and join up and get you some grill mitts if you're into grilling, and put your name in the hat for a Blackstone griddle. I mean, win, right? The herd wins, you win.
And for as little as $5 a month is all it takes. You don't have to pay that $60, which is the minimum. You don't have to pay that Saturday when you get there. You just sign up. It'll be an automatic withdrawal. You can choose to have that come out until you cancel it if you want. So you don't have to worry about lapsing your membership or anything like that. It'll just continue to come out $5 a month as long as you want it. You can change that at any time and have it raised if you want to. So for someone saying in the future, I would love to donate more, don't wait until then. Just do $5 right now. And you get that money back if you're already here in this tri-state area. If you just use your Perks card, 15% off at Glenn's on Marshall attire. If you're going to get a shirt, 2 or 3 items every year, you're going to get a decent portion back right off that. My son had an event last night, a kindergarten concert that they were doing, and they asked everyone to dress up as a soccer player because that was the theme. I went over to Glenn's. I got a youth soccer jersey and saved 15% on that. Got a lot of money back right there. So come there on Saturday knowing it is totally free. You don't have to join the Big Green. But if you're not in the Big Green, we would love to talk to you about it and all the things that you can get and what that does for you. And also, I'll tell you, they have a brand new website. Go to marshallbiggreen.org. This is brand new this month. That used to be real hard to find over on Herd Zone. You had to go over and click this, go to the Big Green section, and then navigate around that. Everything is brand new on marshallbiggreen.org. And they have areas that you can click that will take you over to donate. You can find out more about herd perks. You can do just about everything from that website. It's very slick. It's got a lot of details on there. Tells you about the different levels that you can join at. And they've made some changes in a positive manner to those levels this year. So
I'm looking at it right now, man. It is a slick ass website.
It's very nice.
This is long overdue. Having to navigate through Herd Zone to get to it was just too many steps for a potential new member. I could see how that would be a turnoff. Well, that's no longer a excuse anymore because everything is right here. I mean, it is easy to see everything. This is long overdue. Kudos on whoever put this together because that's pretty nice.
The Big Green has been working on a lot of things, and a lot of that is how can we make this better for our members, our potential members, and those that are already members, how can we give them a better experience for their membership. So
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, they have been working on everything that they can. If you have ideas, if you have suggestions, if you have criticisms, hit me up. I would love to take those to the big green and say, here's what I'm hearing out here of what some people are looking for. And I promise you it gets discussed, because I'm in on those discussions as being on the big green board. Back to the tailgate.
Yeah.
Uh, the game starts at 4. We're going to be tailgating till about 3:55 ish, something like that.
About 3:59 and 59
Yeah,
seconds.
long as you got time to walk in and watch the game, we'll be out there tailgating. After the game, probably not so much. You know, you got a baseball game going on at 7 p.m. You've got the 6:30 p.m. volleyball banquet. We don't want to have people competing, and not go and support Marshall in other sports. We'll have plenty of time to do that the next day over at softball. But right up until 4 p.m., we'll be out there, and we're looking forward to it. You got from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. In that window, you have to realize, too, the fountain ceremony is going on. I believe that's at noon again this year. So we're going to try not to be doing anything like going live at that time. But after that fountain ceremony is over, we are going to do our ThunderCast Live powered by Ignite Link, and we're going to be throwing down in an epic manner.
And I've got to say, we haven't talked about this yet. You really don't know who may pop up at the tailgate, because we have a pretty good track record of just guests that pop up that we are unaware of. And you never know who you'll get to start a conversation with. You never know who you'll get to see, maybe grab a pic with. Our tailgates are really, I don't know. They're like, I don't want to call it a crapshoot, because that's like a bad term sometimes. But it's like this wild card thing. You may go over there and see a dozen former players just hanging out, getting some really killer food, which we absolutely hope happens.
Yeah.
Right. But just so come have a good time. Like Russ said, bring your beverages of choice, take care of yourself that way. We'll make sure you have plenty of killer food to eat. So let's run down the recap. $5 tickets get you in the game. $25 for a tailgate spot.
20.
$20. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. 25 total. 25 total. $5 for a ticket. 20 for a tailgate spot. First come, first serve. Right. There is no reserved parking. So you want to get there early to ensure that you've got the spot that you want to get. The lots open at 10 a.m. Fountain ceremony at noon. We'll be going basically from, the time the lots open, probably a little bit before, because we'll be cooking from the night before. We have to get set up. Games at 4 p.m. So come tailgate with us. Have a great time up until right before kickoff. Go into the Joan, get your look at this new look Herd football team, and then prepare yourself to either go to a baseball game or do you know when softball is?
It's at 2 o'clock.
Okay, so that will already be going on.
Yeah.
So prepare yourself to maybe go to the baseball game or the volleyball banquet. And then Sunday, we haven't talked about Sunday, but we are going. I'll kick it off here. Sunday, you got softball at noon. You've got baseball at 1. And we're going to try to kind of do it all again and have some food over there for that crowd, and spend our Sunday, or at least our early Sunday, watching some diamond sports with the Herd. This is a Herd-centric weekend. And on top of that, please take advantage of the opportunity to join the Big Green if you haven't joined the Big Green. And I doubt they would turn you away if you walked up and said, hey, you know what? I'm already a Big Green member. I'd like to increase my donation amount. I'm sure they'd be glad to help you out with that too. So this is a big opportunity for Herd fans to get involved, to have a great time, and to really, really feel good about being a Herd fan. That's what it's all about for us, man. It's growing and galvanizing this Marshall fan base and doing all the good that we can do for Marshall athletics along the way, and just have a kick-ass amount of fun on our own.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to this, and we are confident there's going to be some former football players over there. There is an all years reunion
Yeah.
tailgate that will be going on, and that'll be over at the pavilion, the M Club Pavilion. So some of those guys have already said they're going to be trickling over. So this is like one of those can't miss things. You got to come over and see. But I need to say one more time, you let it off. I want to close with it. Landscaping by Hillcrest is making all this possible. You're going to come over and eat some amazing food. And yes, our guys are cooking it. And it's all because of them and the efforts that they're going to put into it. But it is paid for by landscapingbyhillcrest.com. Go over to their website. You will see it's not just here in the Huntington area. They will travel just about everywhere, like we talked about on previous shows. They have just about everything that you can imagine with outdoor spaces, including what we're going to be talking about a lot this weekend, rubber stone. If you have an area that's a sidewalk, a porch, any kind of surface that has cracks in it, it's unsightly. Their tagline is "Cover Your Ugly," and this epoxy resin goes right over top of it, and it is beautiful what they can do with some ugly spaces. So give them a shot over at landscapingbyhillcrest.com. Check out their extensive gallery of the different things that they do for all their different services, and we cannot thank them enough, and I hope you do too, for making this happen.
Yeah, no doubt. Without Landscaping by Hillcrest, the epicness would be dialed down a little bit. So they're really helping us push us over the top this year.
Yeah.
We're going bigger and better. You said this before. You told them what we wanted to do, and they said, "Great, can you do it bigger?" And we said, "Damn right we can."
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. And now it's going to fall into the laps of herd fans to show up and show out and have a great time. We're going to set the vibe in place, but it's up to you guys to create the party. So come out in droves. Bring people with you. Don't just show up by yourself. Bring somebody along with you. Bring the whole damn family, because we are a family-friendly spot. I can't promise you that you won't hear some colorful language, because fans are going to be fans. But we are all welcoming to all herd fans at our tailgates. We wouldn't have it any other way. We will see you guys Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Come early and come hungry.
All right, we're going to take it around the herd to finish this show off, and we're going to start with tennis. They beat Appalachian State 4-3 this past weekend. They're now sitting at 17-7 overall, 8-2 in the Sun Belt Conference. That is holding steady in second place in the conference. They host James Madison at 10 a.m. on Saturday in Barboursville. And the SBC championships are next Wednesday through Sunday. The herd needs to win, or they could slip to fourth, depending on the results of some other teams.
Yeah.
Right now, they held the tiebreaker over Troy, but if they lose, Troy wins. Troy will leapfrog them into second place, and then there's another team there, and it's South Alabama, currently sitting in fourth. They own the tiebreaker over us, so we really need to win this weekend and secure that number 2 spot.
And that's going to be tough, because James Madison is generally really good. Remember, it was James Madison and Old Dominion for all the marbles last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we said in the looking forward to tennis season, it would probably come down to having to get over those two teams for the herd. What we didn't count happening was the loss at South Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of put the herd behind the 8 ball a little bit. But hey, if they can go out and they can, bad pun, hold serve against James Madison this weekend, that's going to really, really help the cause. So this is a marquee matchup, just another part of this big epic herd weekend. And if they can go out and get a big match win over James Madison, we're going to be looking pretty good for conference tournament seeding.
Men's golf, you mentioned it earlier. Tyler Jones is currently leading the Mountaineer Invitational at the Pete Dye Golf Club in Bridgeport, West Virginia. He is 7 under after 2 rounds and has 13 birdies total in those 2 rounds. 7 of them were over a stretch of 9 holes. I mean, just playing some locked-in golf at that point. Marshall is currently tied for second out of 16 teams, and the final round is underway right now. I haven't seen any kind of updates. And while we talk about some of these other things, I'll try to see if we have any updates, but it should not be over. It should be sometime later this afternoon.
Yeah. There's
Women,
hold on. There's no updates right now. I'm just looking at the on the Herd Golf Twitter account. The last one was 4 hours ago, and it's kind of like the final days teeing off. So
I'm going to look at the actual leaderboard though here in a
yeah, yeah,
minute.
yeah. I just meant as far as social media, there's nothing posted real quick.
Yeah, and women's golf is they're underway. Round 2 today, but tied for 9th out of 13th at the Sun Belt Conference Championships. Emily McClatchy and Casey McIlvain are both in the top 20, and round 2, round 3. Hopefully, we can make a team move, but those two in the top 20, maybe they move up to the top 10 or higher. Never know
Well,
what's
you
going
know
to
how
happen.
it goes, man. It one stroke could be the difference in 8 spots sometimes. I haven't looked at the leaderboard, but you could very well have, a first, second, and third place on the leaderboard right now, and then have 4th through 12th tied. That's just how golf goes. So, top 20 is cool. I doubt that there are legitimately like 18, 19 people ahead of them. It's probably a grouping of a bunch of different players that are tied with the same score. So a few strokes here and there. And you're inside the top 10 for sure. Strong showing so far. Let's finish strong.
All right. And next is track and field. They had the UVA Grand Prix on Friday. Kylie Maston, say that name on here all the time, set a season best in the 1,500 meters, and she is only 3 seconds off the Sun Belt Conference lead in that event. Good time to be peaking in that event. Tyra Thomas, Evan White, Ronnie Saunders also competing, and they are all running in events where they would score right now at the Sun Belt Conference Championships, which are coming up soon. The JMU invite was Saturday. Laura Check, get this. This probably should have been a thing, but I knew we were going to talk about it a lot here. Laura Check won the javelin, set a personal record in the 200 meter, and was the top collegiate finisher in the long jump. What a day for
Damn.
Laura Check. Yeah. Micah Lane won the 400-meter hurdles. We had 44 different times where we scored at this event and 9 top 3 finishes. Very,
Damn.
very good day on the track.
No doubt.
The UVA challenge is Friday and Saturday coming up, and then right after that, we're heading to the Sun Belt Conference Championship.
Have an event, Laura Check, Jiminy Christmas. That was awesome. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, like I said, I figured we would talk about it here, so I didn't want to have it as a thing and then not be able to talk about it on here. But that's one of those days that I mean, that's going to be a story, right? To anybody that'll listen. If I was doing it, I would, hey Russ, how was your lunch? I tell you what, it wasn't as good as that day that I won the javelin. I set a personal record in the 200 meter, and I was the top collegiate finisher in the long jump. But yeah, it was a good lunch.
It's pretty good lunch.
Yeah.
I think that's a good time to say, hey, for $5 a month, you can join the Big Green, right, and help fund scholarships for shit like that, because that's pretty amazing. Damn.
One day to do all that. One of those things is something that you want to hang your hat on at an event.
I struggle to make a cup of coffee before 9 a.m.
Men's soccer, disappointing news. They lost 2-1 in the College Spring League Championship on Saturday. Michigan State beat them, and they got what some people are complaining about. I was unable to watch this particular play, but there was a penalty called with just over 1 minute to go. Penalty kick was good for Michigan State. That allowed them to edge 2-1 over Marshall in the final.
Yeah, I told you that Marshall was not unbeatable. They had just run through their division. You don't make it to a championship matchup without it being a highly contested a match, and this one was most certainly that. There were some post-tournament accolades for Garcia Pascual. So, the Herd made a strong go of it, just fell a little short. I tried watching the match. Maybe it was just me, but I could not get a clean, fluid connection to the YouTube channel. It was very choppy, at least on my end, and it was just, I tried really hard, but it was unwatchable for me. because I couldn't. It just wasn't like watching a game. It
Yeah.
sucked. So that was kind of a bummer. It was really cool that they did stream those though. So for those folks that had a strong connection and it was smooth and you were able to stream it, I'm sure that was awesome. I just couldn't. I gave it the old college try and I just couldn't do it. But spring league runners up yet again type of thing. Still, the ultimate goal of that thing is to get some, live full speed game action, hone those skills, work on your teamwork, trying to figure out who can do what. And Marshall's doing that. This in the grand scheme of things, while a great tournament, a great event to be a part of, won't be any indicator really of what Marshall will be in the regular season and beyond. They will be damn good. They are damn good. This one match doesn't define who they will be this season. Even if they would have won it, it wouldn't define who they are. They're going to be damn good again. I think that's quite apparent.
Yeah.
The way they ran through their side of the tournament, and to lose on a questionable penalty. I'm never going to be like, oh, that was unfair or whatever, because I don't know. I didn't see it. But, to lose a match in that way, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So still a very, very good team. There are going to be a lot of great moments again this year at the Vet. Looking forward to another year of sending fans to games, another year of sitting atop the polls, another year of making our run at a Sun Belt championship, another year of making an NCAA tournament run. It's going to be another magical year for Herd men's soccer. The reload has continued.
Before we move on to another sport, I'll go back to men's golf. Tyler Jones is 1 under, so he has increased his lead. He's 2 strokes over a couple of people that are tied for second. As of right now, they're through 3 holes in the final round. But Marshall still holding in at the number 2 spot. They're no longer tied for 2. They got it by themselves. All 5 players are either par or better so far through 3 rounds. You got 3 that are 1 stroke under and 2 that are at par through 3 holes. So
wow. So Tyler Jones is 1 under on the day. What is he overall?
He's 8 under overall. He was
8 under overall.
He was 7 under coming in after the first 2 rounds. He's increased that lead. Got a couple people tied at 6 under from West Virginia. It's their home links, and Tyler's going up there and making it his home.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Give him hell.
We will not have that. We'll have it out on Twitter, and by the time this episode comes, the show
tournament will be long over.
Tournament will be over. But just as you're listening and we're watching live or tracking it live, that's what's going on. We just think it's always pretty cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of Marshall in West Virginia, let's talk about baseball.
Okay.
I was there for that, and they beat West Virginia 3-2 in 11 innings on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Electric environment, especially there at the end. A lot of WVU fans there, but I would say it was more around the 80-20, 80 Marshall, 20 WVU. But there were a lot of fans sitting there and standing there around the concourse. But we overcame some good pitching against WVU, and we didn't give up. And if you have not seen that pickoff maneuver by Wyrick, our closer, oh my goodness. It spread. It went viral, spread around
all over
college baseball Twitter, professional baseball Twitter. Just about everybody was talking about it. And it's one of the slickest pickoff moves at second that you'll see. But it actually got 2 people. Got the guy trying to steal from second to third or just get a big lead from second to third. Got him. And then the guy was caught in a rundown between first and second, picked him off as well. And that ultimately allowed us to go into the bottom of the 11th and put some people on base and win this game.
Yeah, that was a hard fought game, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we could get past this narrative of Mountaineer fans being like, we should never play Marshall. This is their Super Bowl. Dude, this has nothing to do with that. That was a highly contested baseball game between 2 teams that both wanted the win. So save the crap. Both of those teams wanted to win that game, right?
Mhm.
Don't tell me you don't have anything to gain. Both
Oh,
teams have
like
things
they
to
wouldn't
gain.
have ran to social media and
Yeah,
thrown it up if they won
exactly.
38-2 or something,
Exactly. So I'm not going to get into this argument because it's futile. They're going to
Mhm.
be who they are,
Right.
and I'm going to be who I am, right? This was just an amazing game, and extra innings, and the pickoff play to thwart the Mountaineer threat
Yeah.
that way. I know that made them feel some type of way because there were
Mhm.
so many fans, so many. Of course, this is the biggest balk I've ever seen. That's a balk. Obviously it's a balk. No, it's not. No, it's
No.
not. No, it's
No,
not.
you have to make progress toward home plate, and you did not do that.
That's right.
And if that, I put it on there for my personal responding to the Fun Belt Sports account, who was asking, not in a contentious manner, just, hey, what are your all's thoughts on it? Because there had been a lot of discussion. I said, if he did not have the funky windup, the unorthodox windup that he has, being a not just a sidearm, more of a submarine coming,
Okay.
almost dragging the ground as he threw. It looked funky for the way that he was doing that. If he's in the more traditional wind up and he keeps his leg straight parallel and is not going toward home and his arm is not going toward home and he steps off and throws to third or second like you're allowed to do, no one would have said, "Oh my God, that's a balk," except for WVU fans,
Yeah, of
because
course.
they were going to say that no matter what.
Because we can only win if we cheat, right?
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
only way we would ever win any game ever against them,
Then
ever.
they complained us celebrating a walk off like we should have just said, "Oh, good game, gents.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. We'll go over and have some pimento cheese sandwiches in the dugout and talk amongst ourselves."
Yeah.
No, we're going to celebrate a walk off win no matter who it's over.
That's exactly right. It
It's a
doesn't matter
walk off win in
that it
extra
was
innings.
them. Jeez. That was a gutsy performance. They snatched victory from essentially the jaws of defeat with the top half of the inning and
Yeah,
getting out with that wild double play.
yeah.
And I know that hurt. That hurt. That stung, right?
It
Because
it
you're like,
was
damn it.
it was right after the 800th mound visit or umpire visit by their coach, WVU's coach, and each one of them lasted an hour that he came out. I will say we honored him before the game because
Yep,
he's
saw that.
retiring. That was very classy. He enjoyed it. He has been a proponent of the two teams playing. Got a lot of respect for him for that. Um, but he came out and seemingly was running the show amongst the umpires all game long. And when doing that, most of the time it was allowing his pitcher to take a break without a mound visit. He was coming out and discussing things like this and can we get that, and allowed them to calm down without a mound visit. This one just happened to be that he came out and did that, and they had runners on first, runners on second, no outs, and then all of a sudden they come out, they delay the game. That's we didn't throw a pitch, just the very first thing, the step off and got them.
Yeah. And it was cool.
Yeah,
You're right. It circulated around the baseball world's social media accounts. Seemingly everybody was talking about that because of, you're right. The funky throwing motion probably had a lot to do with it because
yeah,
it just looked visually cool,
yeah,
but the ultimate outcome was a double play, and Marshall's able to go down and in the bottom half of the inning and put across the winning run. And it doesn't matter who it is, man. I don't care if it was a whatever team. If you do that, you win that way in that fashion, you're going to celebrate it. And I don't care if they would have ran to the banks of the Ohio River.
yeah,
They earned that win. That was a hard fought win against a good team.
yeah.
So they can just take your L and go and move on.
Yeah,
They won 2 out of 3. So what? You won the series. We won at the Jack, and that's what matters to me.
yeah,
Holding serve at home. That's
yeah.
what I care about.
Let's move on to the rest of what they did. They went down and were against a juggernaut in number 19 at the time. I expect they may move up in the rankings this week, but number 19, Louisiana, always good at their diamond sports. Both softball and baseball are either ranked or should be ranked right now. We went down there and we put up a hell of a weekend. but Louisiana just put up that much more of a weekend. We lost on Friday 3-1. Great pitching duel. Harlow did really well in that. He gave up back-to-back homers, but that put him up 2-0. But we hung with them, lost 3-1. Very respectable game. Saturday, Bryce Blevins. 10 strikeouts, if I'm remembering correctly, and scattered some hits, but gave up only 1 run, doing a great job. And we only get 1 hit from Owen Ayers in the first inning, and then their guy, forgive me for not having his name here because this is a Marshall show and not a Louisiana show, but he pitched that much better and only gave up 1 hit and in a complete game effort and struck out 11. Yeah. It was lefty versus lefty. One of those things that, I've seen this with the Reds a bunch of times. And in fact, one of them was the day that you got married. We had a perfect game going on by the Reds pitcher and a no-hitter going on the other side, so it's like one of those kind of feels and everything. And Sunday, 2-0, we got 1 hit again. We got 2 hits over the last 2 games. That's how good their pitching was against us this weekend. But we gave up a total of 6 runs in 3 games. 3, 1, and 2.
Against the number 19 team in the country. Right?
Yeah.
So I hate this for Bryce Blevins because he has now been the victim of
2
pitchers duels, like true pitchers duels, where like dueling no hitters and one hitters and stuff like that. And, poor guys just hasn't gotten any run support really in those games because those were both games that Marshall could have won. They were winnable games, if the kid's pitching on Sunday or, Friday, who knows how these games go, but those Saturday starts for him, while he's doing phenomenally well, the opposing pitchers are also doing really, really well. And he's just not benefiting from any type of legitimate run support to allow him to maybe notch a win. But man, he's going to have the most awesome stat line at the end of the year with the 1-loss record. That's not going to, if that's all you look at, you wouldn't think it was a good year.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, there's no way around getting swept in a series. Freaking sucks, right? But against the number 19 team, to only hold them to how many runs did they have across the whole series?
6.
6 runs across the whole series.
Yeah.
We're chipping away, but we just don't have enough of the weapons that we need to be able to edge out one of those games, right? So
Southern Miss, it was the same way. We got swept down there, but we picked up a lot of respect by their fans, and they know baseball, and they are a legit top 25 year in, year out team as well. And this kind of feels the same way, even though the Louisiana fans, there were a bunch of them, trolling or whatever. It's not the same as what we were getting from Southern Miss, but you have to know that they had to say, wow, this guy, they came down here and held us to this, held us to that.
Yeah. At their house.
At their house.
So in front of a pretty good attended series, I don't know. There's just differences in fan bases. It's not like we're looking for anybody to contact us and go, damn, your baseball team's pretty tough bunch of dudes. I don't care if they do that.
Sure.
I don't give a shit. But
no, it's you gotta admit it's impressive to go down there. It wouldn't have mattered who it was from our league going in there and holding them to 6 runs, the number 19 team in the country. And you're talking about, a wild pitch here, don't get picked off there. A grounder that gets through, one of those, there was an infield single that went to review, which ended up giving them one of those runs, Louisiana. So, these are some close ball games. We don't talk about moral victories on here like we're beating our chest, but those had to be things that you could say, we're getting there. When you see that weekend, you think we're getting there. Real quick, Blevins drops his ERA down to 1.6 on the year, 2-1 still overall, and still has the 2 complete games. Has given up 10 earned runs on the season. 10.
Yeah. If he would have gotten that win, he probably would have been a shoe-in for Sunbelt Pitcher of the Week yet again.
Yeah.
Then that was another great performance by Bryce Blevins.
Yeah. All right, we're going to finish it up with the other diamond sport, softball. Unfortunately, they got swept as well at James Madison this past weekend. Scores of 8-7, 7-5, both of those being very close, but then 11-3 in 5 innings for the series ender on Sunday. They will be hosting Coastal this weekend and us. They will be hosting us out there for that tailgate that we talked about. 6 p.m. on Friday, 2 p.m. on Saturday, noon on Sunday, which is when we'll be there. We'll be there before noon, obviously, having all that food as a pregame and then as the game goes on. Then after that, they're on to Virginia Tech on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Currently sitting at 20-21 overall, 6-9 in the conference. And to throw that back to baseball, I forgot to throw theirs in. 12-22 at baseball, 5-10 in the conference.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the rough stretch there at James Madison. They had to lead in, I think, all 3 of those games.
All 3, yeah.
And bummer to let those slip away. Brooklyn Ulrich continues to stay hot, continues to hit home runs. Just wasn't enough this week. So let's just turn the page and look forward to having a really fun opportunity this weekend with the tailgate out on Sunday. Of course, a really strong start on Friday and Saturday would help a lot. Come out and come to the softball game. If you haven't been to a softball game yet this year, this is a great one to come to because we're going to be out there tailgating early for that noon start. You can watch some of the softball game. Remember, they are free. You can watch some or all of the softball game, but there's also a baseball game at the Jack that is going to be first pitch will be right around 1:00. So you can do both. Should be a great opportunity to get your belly full, have a little fun, talk about the herd, and catch some of both of our diamond sports, man. Seriously, make it what you do this weekend. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Hell of a lot of fun.
That's it for Around the Herd.
All right. Well, if you got nothing else, then let's get the heck out of here.
Yeah, so whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Dot, whether you see us in the west parking lot of the Joan throwing down some of the greatest barbecue you've ever seen, thanks to landscapingbyhillcrest.com, we are always going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. Don't know when the next show will be because our schedules are going to be a little upended. But when we do see you, we're always going to be saying, go Herd. Later.